Hello, and welcome back. And I've got a couple of vintage train sets to have a look at, and these are, one is from Hornby and one is from Lima, and they are both the Intercity HSTs or Intercity 125s, class 43s, whatever you want to call them. And I was thinking, back in the 1980s, you could either choose the Lima one or you could choose the more popular Hornby one. But which one was the best choice back then? So with the Hornby one, this is the executive swallow livery, I think they call that. So it's a slightly different livery, but aside from that, it's basically the same model. It's a slight improvement over the original tooling, I think they did, but not by much. I think it's just a very slight difference, especially on the roof and things like that. So we get a power car, that one, is it? No, don't feel that much different in weight actually. So, and then you get your power car and dummy car, one coach. And these coaches, I don't think are the correct length. So, and obviously you get steel track, which is no use in today's world, and you get an oval of first radius, and there is always a power connector. I have two with this set for some reason, and you got a couple of straights to take it away from being just an oval. A circle and make it an oval, a little bit more interesting. Don't know why they didn't increase, just give you at least 4 of these, because if you looked at it's not even got on a straight, so, and it would be very difficult to couple up and things like that, and you got quite a basic controller. This one is a variable one, so it's not like some of the early ones which is a 3-speed or something like that. At least you got something a little bit better. I'm not going to use the controllers or the track. I'm just really interested in comparing the locomotives and the coach and just seeing what we got. So that's what we got in the Hornby one. So let me just pop that to there. And what do we get in the Lima one? Basically, we get roughly the same. You know, we've got that's the dummy car with a loose weight inside. Let's get the power car out then. So we've got the power car. That feels definitely heavier than the Hornby model, and I would say definitely looks better as well, like with the bogie detail and everything like that. But we can have a better look at that, and I'd say the injection moulding looks better and the colouring looks better. So, but let's have a better look at that. And then we've got coach. You get one coach, as in both sets, but this one is the full size, so it's more prototypical of the size that you should have got. So that's the Hornby one. So you can see that's short, designed for the first radius and things like that. So, but Lima decided we need to make it look much better. And then you got the Lima steel track, but it did come with a power connector on the curve, which is a little bit odd. Maybe because they did sets with just circles, but on this one we did have 4 pieces of straights, so give you, and I'm sure they're longer than the Hornby ones, so it gives you a bit more interest in a way. So at least even the coach would fit on the complete straight and give you a little bit more fun factor. So if you were back in, you know, a lot of people got these for Christmas presents and things like that, you know, so if that was back in 1988 and you got these, you'd want more fun. And with the Lima controller, don't have the wires to this one actually, so I won't be using the controllers anyway, but this one's just a nice variable controller. I would say both of these are variable resistors. They're not electronic controllers, so it's just a variostat which then just regulates a different voltage to the track. You know, so most people in running these probably had them on full, you know, and then backed them off and then tried to start and then pushed them and then get them on full again. But let's forget the controllers, forget the track, and then let's put these both to one side, and let's go and have a look at these in a little bit more detail and a little bit closer up. So that's the power cars, even though the dummy cars are identical. So 2 dummy cars there, 2 power cars there. Okay, there we have the 2 models side by side, and as you can see, probably, I'm not sure how well that comes out in the camera, but definitely the quality of the paint on the roof is so much nicer on the Lima model. That comes like with a bit of more of a satin finish. This is a gloss finish, obviously it's a slightly different livery, so I'm not sure if it was going to be as high gloss as that, but I do think that one definitely looks better from the top down. Less toy-like as well, so the shiny plastic does make it feel like a toy. I know these were really aimed at, you know, as a toy, so, but a lot of the people who would started to buy them wasn't buying them, they were buying them as models. So, but you can see, especially on the front there, there's a few differences, and you can see with the lenses on the Hornby one there, slightly different lighting pack. This one isn't quite realistic as the Lima one, but it does have the lights fitted, although it only uses a bulb, and then it's one bulb and then it feeds it through a sort of a perspex sort of piece in a way, and so you just get not a greatest light effect anyway. One thing you will notice on the Lima one is the yellow is not the correct colour, and this is Lima using yellow plastic for the injection moulding and not even needing to paint it, even though it should really have been painted. They shouldn't have just used a yellow, but back in the day it was cutting costs as much as possible, using yellow plastic and a blue paint, and that was it. Now if the blue paint comes off, as you can see we've got some missing there from where people have handled it, the yellow comes through, and I think there's a little bit on that door there and things like that, so it does spoil it a little bit, you know, and they should have sort of painted it. The Lima one is actually screwed together, the Hornby one is just clipped together, and the difference on there, both got traction tyres. Lima one wheels seem a lot finer, but they are all brass to help pick up. The Hornby ones aren't. One good thing that you can do with the Hornby ones is, if you don't want the traction tyres, but you will suffer with a lot of traction, because it's just one driven bogie is just not that good. But you can take the wheel sets off, and then you can use these driven wheel sets that you can purchase, which have got the gearing on them, and you can just drop those in. So then you can actually remove the traction tyres. If you're going to do that, I would put a power unit in each car, so it would then negotiate the need for the traction tyres. But let's go and have a proper look at these on the layout in a little bit more detail, and then we can have them running. Right, and so looking a bit close on the Hornby one, you can see got quite a nice livery, quite nicely applied, especially for the day. Now obviously it's not that complex, but it was pretty good and pretty realistic when you were back in the 80s. and you didn't really have any other choice. So he used a fairly standard bogie, and I think they use a very similar one on the Class 25 and things like that. So, and you've got handrails there sort of just picked out, and you do have some reasonable detail. Let's get to have a look at the front. As you can see, you've got the running number on the front there, and this one has the lights fitted and the lenses, and it's just basically a bulb that was in the bottom and used a light channel come across. You've got a moulded wiper there, but overall it gives a really good impression of what it was, and Hornby used this tooling for years. So how does the Lima one look? Well, I'd say the Lima one fares a little bit better in some details, not in others. Like I was saying with that, just the plastic paint there. We've also got handrails that aren't picked out, they're just painted in. So, but look okay, you know, nothing wrong with that moulding. And it's quite a nice crisp sort of Intercity 125 logo there. And the running gear and the bogies, you know, they look quite nice and detailed as well. And I think the door actually is more realistic on this model than it is on the Hornby one. It doesn't have the window at the back and things like that. So, but I know this is a slightly different era because the obviously the Swallow livery came out a little bit later, around probably the late 80s, and this was like the early 80s. So let's have a look at the front. And there we go on the front, and you can see the running number there. Lower down on this livery, and it seems to have a slightly bigger windscreen. The wipers obviously just part of the moulding again. No lights on this model, so it's a bit more basic in that respect, but overall they look very similar. And when you do see them side by side there, they sort of don't look miles apart, you know. Now you can see the sort of length of the locomotives. They're basically the same. And then you get to the coach, where the Lima one is a lot longer, more prototypical, and obviously then it gives you a slightly longer train. So let's have a look at the coaches in a little bit more detail before we get them running. I would say they both look pretty good for the era. All have both you know, this has got all the interior in it, and doesn't look that bad really. There's not a huge amount of detail to show you or see, so I won't spend a lot of time looking at this. But you do get some nice nice livery on this, and again the sort of, it's quite a glossy roof, but overall it's a coach from the early Hornby. And then you can see the Lima coach. This is the first class coach, so only the privileged people was allowed to travel on the HST in the Lima set. But again, we've got all the interior in there. It's got like more of a smoked glass on the windows as well. And there's a few marks on this model. You know, it's been used. Again, it's very similar in the level of detail, not a huge amount. And I am having a little bit of trouble with this coupling on the end there, because it seems to be pointing up very slightly and coming uncoupled from the loco when I pulled it back. hopefully it'll stay coupled. And I'm not going to show the dummy cars because they're identical to the power cars, just don't have a motor. So I'm interested in let's getting these running. Right then, first I think we'll get the Lima one up and running. That's on the outside track, so let's see if we give it. I probably should have given these a bit of a run round on the road without the coaches and everything. I don't even know if the traction tyres are going to work or even going to get a circuit because they've not been run for about 30 years. So, and then we instantly uncouple. I did wonder about that. I might have to just modify that. I'll be back. Right, let me try that again then. I've just warmed the plastic up very slightly and just bent it over, but I don't know if that's still enough, but I think it should be okay. So let's see if we can get that one running. Well, it didn't uncouple that time, so will it get all the way around? So yes, I'll slow that down just a little bit. Okay, let's get the Hornby one going. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, as you can tell, these are quite loud, so I'm going to sort of bring these to a halt. Yep. Ooh, a bit more peace. I think the Lima one is a lot quieter than the Hornby, so if that was just running around, that is fairly quiet actually. That's at 35% speed. It's quite a nice speed for that layout. The Hornby one, however, you do have to turn it up. That's 35 and it's not even moving. 40, not even that. So it really needs a little bit more, bit of a squeak as well. And actually, to get the lights to work, you need to run it at full power. So the lights was a nice feature, but would you ever run it at full speed? Right, let's go and get these back in the boxes and do a quick review. Okay, so which one is better? If you were back in 1988, that one was probably the one most people would have bought. This one did come out a little bit earlier than that, I think. But if I was buying one back in the day, I'd have probably bought the Hornby, because the Hornby had a better name to it for some reason. But if I was now looking at them, I would definitely buy the Lima model. It actually runs better, it's actually quieter, and their Ringfield type motor I think is better than the Hornby one. Had a more realistic coach. Would have been nice if all these sets came with at least 2 coaches, you know, to give you, but it was the flavour of getting it and then getting you to spend your money on all the extras. So, but I would say my favourite out of this set, these 2 sets, is definitely the Lima one. And I would say it's more of the era that I like as well, because this is probably why that coupling got damaged. You know, getting it in and out of the boxes all the time. And it's probably sat in the box for such a long time, getting bent. But yeah, I think the Lima one, and I do like the delivery better than that anyway. Hornby one, absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think they're still using the tooling. Well, they were still using the tooling for up to quite a long time ago. So I'm not sure if the railroad one now uses the Lima tooling. So I'm pretty sure somebody will be able to tell me that, but I don't know. I haven't got any of the newer models, but if you want to buy these, you can buy. Why is that not going on? So, but yeah, I mean, if you want to get these, and you can find these on eBay. A bit harder to find the Lima one, I would say, than the Hornby one. Because obviously they sold a lot more of the Hornby ones rather than the Lima. But you can pick these up for less than £40 each, as long as you can find them in good condition. You know, there's no point in buying them and they say spares, or they're just worn out completely. I mean, these have had play wear on them. They haven't been used for a long time. But they ran straight out of the boxes, which was surprising. And the Lima one, although I didn't do it on camera, actually I did test it and it was crawling nicely, and I should have really put that on the camera. The Hornby one didn't do that at all. It was very, very slow, and then groaned, and then you had to give it a little bit more juice and then it'd start running, you know. So I would say it probably needs a service, probably both of them really. And I should have done that before. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed watching these 2 high-speed train sets, and I hope to see you on the next video. Have a good evening, and or a good rest of the day wherever you are, and take care, and hopefully I'll see you again.